Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the January 2022 Mastermind Huddle for the Lisa Parento team. Wanted to get started because I want to respect your time. We just have 1 hour this morning, and we've got a couple of things that are going on, and I also just want to hear from everybody here. We have one of our new folks on this morning, Mike Martell. Welcome, welcome, Mike. Mike is just finishing onboarding. Mike, I'll let him introduce himself, but Mike is a dual agent, dual licensed agent in New York and in Massachusetts. And Gloria Seppin, our good friend, is going to be his mentor in New York because he lives in New York, and he has a home here in West Yarmouth. And he will be with us this summer, but he is primarily in the Dutchess County area of New York. Go ahead, Mike, introduce yourself. Love to hear more about you.
Hey, good morning. Nice to meet everybody. Mike Martell, newly licensed. I got licensed back in May. That's with William Ravis. Basically, I was in the corporate world for many years. We live here in New York and also have a house up in West Yarmouth. So I'm going to try and go back and forth. We try and get up to the Cape like a week, for a week, once a month. But we'll see how it goes. Real estate could be more. It's about a 3.5 hour ride, which isn't too bad. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to join EXP and working with Lisa and everybody here.
Yeah,
Welcome.
it's a great group, and Adrian is the one that I mentioned to you, who, and also Christine. Both of them have really taken on learning about KB Core, and they both have done a lot of work in that area, and they also both, I know, would be willing to answer some questions and help out. We also have, there's a ton of resources I mentioned, but we've got people right here on the team that are really good at that. And then eventually, as you move more into attraction, that's something that Kareen spends a lot of time on, as well as I do. But right now, Mike just wants to sell some houses, and
Absolutely.
yeah, we just
Absolutely.
want to give him all the support in the world for that. And
Thank you. Thank you so much.
super excited that you'll be joining us. A little bit about your background, also, then, Mike. Where'd you come from? What profession?
Well, I did two things. So I was in communications for many years, worked with Verizon, T-Mobile, worked with my last stint was 7 years with Crown Castle. It's a cell tower company. They own about 44,000 towers in the U.S. I was responsible for the Northeast. Cape was part of my area there too. Responsible for the Northeast for maintenance on the towers. I also worked part-time in law enforcement for 30 years here in New York. So basically in New York State with part-time policing is you get pay and pension, but you don't get benefits and vacation. So I worked about 20 to 25 hours a week with a police department in northern Westchester. I actually got hurt, broke my arm back about 4 years ago on the job, and I've kind of ended my law enforcement career with them. So kind of like a dual career, which is great. It really worked out well.
Yeah, I mean, so many people that have entered the real estate market, certainly in the last couple of years, have all had other careers, and they bring with them so much. You know, Adrian was a mechanical engineer. I mean, everybody has had something else. Kareen is one of the few that was actually a broker owner for like 17 years prior to coming on board. So, but that's also amazing experience for all of us because she's seen an awful lot over these years. Just heard from Suanne, her husband's in the middle of eye surgery. She wishes she could join us, but she's praying that it's recorded, which of course it is. So that's great. So a couple of quick things at the top. I just wanted to mention again that we're going to be make sure everybody's on the WhatsApp group, and Kathy, you are welcome to join that as well, just for notification purposes. Raymar, who is my amazing VA in the Philippines, who's on now. Raymar, do you want to take off your screen just for 1 sec to say hi? I don't know what he's doing. I didn't.
Hello. Hi guys, good morning. I'm sorry, I'm not really sure what's happening with the camera right now, but
All
hi
right.
guys.
Hi,
Raymar has
Raymar.
kind of, you guys know me, so you know every day is kind of a crazy adventure. So I keep on saying, sorry for the fire drill, Raymar. Raymar is in the middle of just jumping into everything. He originally came on board to straighten out my KB core, but he has continued to really prove invaluable. And I've been working with him for a couple months now. And if you guys have any additional questions or if you ever get emails from him, please respond. And he's just been a great, really a great help. So I want to make sure that everybody is aware that we're going to be moving the meeting to noon, as I was mentioning in February. Going to probably be doing some more kind of mindset CEO kinds of things in February, but I'm going to send out another survey like I did a couple months ago to find out what you guys really want to do, because I know last time we talked about leads, which we brought somebody in to do some lead generation, also on listing appointments, which and how I do all of that, which we went over. And then we had that great session in December with Sammy about goal setting for the new year. So I just want to be able to offer some really good value, and then record these too, because lots of people, Louise is at a showing. People have stuff going on, obviously. That's why I'd like to try the time change for lunchtime on the next Friday. So that's going on. And then also make sure everybody's on the WhatsApp chat. If you, Raymar, if you could put that link in the chat, that would be great. And then let's just dive right in. I really wanted to go over the one word concept again. Does everybody have a copy of the action plan that I gave a link to? Everybody got it? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. So you didn't print it? You don't have to print it, but
Okay.
I'm a print,
I'm a printer, but I forgot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I mean, you could just do it. I mean, I will just talk it through. I just want to take some time this morning to go through that for everybody. If you haven't, did anyone already get their word for the year? Let me start that way.
Ooh.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right, good. So that'll be good. That'll be good.
I wasn't muted.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. Good. So we'll kind of talk about that, and the process that Jon Gordon really outlined is in the action plan. So the first one really is kind of to prepare yourself and to look inward. I know I went on kind of an interesting journey this year because I really. Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, no. My husband walked in. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay,
He's leaving, so I'm just saying bye.
Okay.
You know that
No, who is Sakta?
we're about to find out.
Yeah. Hey, Sakta. Good morning. Who are you? Could you turn your camera on?
Sorry about that, guys.
Good morning. Hey, Sakta.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Could you turn your camera on? Oh, there you are. Hi. So you are part of Team Disruptor?
I think I got in a wrong group. I'm so sorry.
We're happy to have you.
Not
But
the wrong group.
this is
You
a
got
huddle.
here on purpose.
Yeah. Are you a realtor?
I am. This is my, I think, second week now with EXP.
Oh, all
I'm still
right. Well,
learning.
hey, you know what, girl? Welcome. One of the things about EXP is that, we all do better if we all do better. So we're going. My name is Lisa Parento. I have a team here on Cape Cod and extended around the country. And we have a monthly mastermind huddle. And this morning we're doing something called Jon Gordon's One Word. And so it's kind of like identifying a word for the year. And it's just going to be a little bit of inspiration, hopefully. So stay on.
Oh, okay. Is that okay though?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's what we're all about. This is kind of funny. This is actually what, and Adrian says he's got somebody new coming as well. So good. Yeah, you're welcome. Actually,
I'm in Worcester County, so yeah.
Oh, great.
My mentor is Tom Trung.
Okay, yeah.
I'm still learning.
Yeah. So he's in all of our line as well. And there's somebody else coming in, and I'm going to assume Adrian. What's the name of the other person who you're mentioning? Adrian.
My name is Juniki.
What is it?
Tim.
Juniki.
Yep. Okay, that is him. Okay, perfect. Actually, Raymar, would you put back in the chat the link to the action plan so that Sakta, right? And Junichi can both take a look at that. Just download that action plan. You'll know what the heck we're talking about. All right. So it's very simple. It's a really simple concept. So anyway, if everybody could take a look at those, and then, the first part really is kind of looking in. And I think one of the most important questions is, what do I need right now? If I look at my business life and my professional life for this next year. Good morning, Junichi. I'm Lisa Parento.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
What do I need more of in my life? Right. So that, and think about like the folks that were with me last year, think about that word. And I'd love when we're going to have some time to go around because it's a small group this morning, how that word showed up for you last year. And, and in thinking about what do I need more of? So take a couple of minutes and those couple questions, what do I need more of? And then what's in my way? Why don't I have that right now? you know, and then what do I need to eliminate in order to have more of that in my life? So who has chosen their word already? And would you like to share kind of what that, yeah, Corinne, what was that process about? What do you need more of in your life? What was in the way and what did you need to let go of?
My word for this year is focus. And it was just like last year when I, stopped and took the time to think about it, because last year was the first time I actually ever did the exercise. And I was struggling at first, but this year it was really clear. It just kept coming to me. The word last year just like popped in, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go with that. And then, so this year it just kept coming to me, and I need focus. And there's a lot of things that have to go in order for me to accomplish that focus. But I think it's a big challenge, but I mean, everybody needs focus, but it's my word for the year.
All right. And what's in the way? Tell me what's in the way. I think it's really important to identify that. You don't have to disclose too much, but like what's in the way of your focus? What is in the way?
I think for me, what I keep saying and telling myself, it's like life keeps getting in the way, and not that life isn't important, because it so much is, but there's a lot of things I have to shed to get to the next level and get to the next place. And not that it's bad, it just has to be like put on the back burner or put on a shelf, and focus on what's important to get me to the next level.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Who else that already has their word wants to talk about like what it is you need in your life, what's in your way, what needs to go? Kath?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So I actually have two. Is that okay? All right,
Well,
you have to stick it to one.
You really, I'm going to make you pick one. It's so funny you say that because I had two, right? And I kept going, oh, I can do this. And then I was in John's 5-day thing and they were like, it's not called 2 words. It's called 1 word. Why do we always try to reinvent every wheel? So I made and then
Okay.
once I started to like laugh at myself around that because I too, I'm like, I got to, no, they have this big debate. The 3 guys that have been doing this for over a decade, they, because a hyphenated word, really 2 words, it's a whole thing. No, it's called 1 word that will change your life.
1 word. Okay. Okay. Dang it.
So what do you need? What do you need more of in your life? What do you need more of in your life?
All right. Well, I'm going to say the 2 words, but I'm going to pick one.
Okay.
So one is courage, right? And the other one's consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, I don't know, they're just so strong. I think consistency is going to be the word. You know me.
Yeah.
You know me, Lisa. Like, yep, that's the one.
Well, we all need that. Not saying just you, Kath, for sure. We all need that. Busy people are busy people. So what's in your way?
Well, it was all the marketing. It was like, the social media stuff. I felt that every single time I was on a good track, like with all my back office stuff, for the tracking and all that good stuff, making sure that I'm posting regularly. It was good. But then I go into a rabbit hole because then I'm like, oh, what's this? Wait a minute. If I do this, it'll do this. And that's really what I want. And so then I start fiddling around with all that stuff, thinking that I'm a programmer or something and I'm in Silicon Valley. And then I'm like, oh, snap. I messed it up. Now I got to go back to the beginning. Now I got to sit on 3 hours with Google on the phone, trying to figure things out. So I say consistency because thank you, Lord Jesus, that my sister is not working. And I gave her the work to do for me. And, she's sitting on a 40-acre farm right now in Florida. And, she could do it for me. So she's taking the reins and getting all, my social, she's like doing my branding and all that stuff that would take me forever or cost me a ton of money. So that's the consistency I'm working towards. and with videos, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and all right. So what needs? Good morning, Kate Lanagan MacGregor. Can't, I'm so excited you're here. We're in the middle of going through the Jon Gordon's One Word, which I know you're familiar with, of course. And so we might put you on the spot to hear about your process. We're just in the beginning, talking to a few folks who have identified a word for this year, talking about what they need, what's in their way, and what needs to go. So Kathy Cruz, what needs to go?
What needs to go is my control over what I want posted, my control over just trying to do it and using that as an excuse for not doing stuff like making calls.
Yeah, I know that my coach has said to me repeatedly that people like us who have shiny object syndrome, SOS, right? We, if we really want to be honest, we need to live by our calendars. And I know Kathy, you and I have talked about this, and that means taking some time on the weekend, Sunday night, whatever it is. I'm sure Kate, I'd love to hear Kate's thoughts on this too. But you look at your calendar the week before, and you actually put in all the things that are important. You're going to put in your fun. You're going to put in your open time. And then one of the things he suggested to me was actually put in customer service time. So you have that hour twice a day to answer the emails, answer the, do all of that, because we know answering one email, suddenly 2 hours later, we're down some crazy rat hole, right? And again, on top of everything, there are no real estate emergencies.
Right.
We tell ourselves there are, but we're not performing life-saving surgery. We are not. No one's bleeding out in the car waiting to view a property. So we have to remember we've made this all, a state of emergency ourselves, and we have to create times for ourselves to do all of that responding. So he tells me if it's not if it's not in your calendar, you don't do it. Now, do I do that perfectly? Absolutely not. Of course not. But have I built in more of that in my schedule? Plus, I have people making calendar invites for me. So if I'm not pretty careful about my calendar, all of a sudden someone's going to book me for something and I'm not really available. I have to put travel time in when I'm going to an appointment, all that kind of stuff to build into the calendar. And then something that we're going to touch on a little bit. Oh, actually, it's tomorrow night. I mean, my Sunday night thing. Remind me to talk about that. Is we got to find a way to have some more fun. This has been so incredibly stressful these last couple of years, and it's not changing. It's really not. So we have to also build some more time in, for that. So living to the calendar is hugely important. So I think consistency is a great word, Kathy. I've got that down because I'm happy to do. I've been doing like little work, me on Canva. I'll do a Canva for you and send that over to you for sure.
Okay.
All right. So who else would love to kind of jump in a little bit and share about the process, about what you need, what's in your way, and what needs to go? Anybody else? Ooh, there's Christine. Yay.
I don't actually know my word yet, but I just was thinking about what gets in my way, and that is perfectionism. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. Okay, a lot of it. I have a problem. The first step in solving the problem is admitting you have it. So anyway, yeah, so that's the thing that has to go, because I get so overwhelmed because I'm bound and determined that everything's going to be just so, and I got to let that go. So I don't know what my word is yet, but
so what does that look like in terms of what do you need? I can hear what you have said you want to let go of, which is kind of that need for it to be perfect.
Well, the thing I have on here is motivation. And I think that because I can't make it perfect, I lose my motivation.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I haven't gotten to my word yet. Nothing is, maybe it's motivation, like springing to mind, but yeah, that's where I'm at in my process. I haven't quite gotten to my word yet.
Yeah, that's good. And that, because the next step, as we know, is to look up, to really be quiet, be silent, take some time, whether it's in meditation or walking or go to the beach or, pull over in your car, whatever it is, and ask, a power greater than yourself, whatever you consider that, to kind of start to show you, like Kareen said, all of a sudden focus was like coming into everywhere. And my word also, the concept of my word continued to just, come at me. And I was going to do three, I think, I know I had at least two. So yeah, I mean, if you're open to it, sometimes like John says, you don't always want to take that word that keeps coming to you. That can kind of be a struggle too sometimes, right? We don't, if I had discipline, I'd be like, no, don't give me that word. Sometimes we don't want to know necessarily, but so the next one really is to kind of, look up, for sure. Hey, Kate, what's your experience with this process?
Hi, everybody. How are you? It's nice
Hi,
to
good morning.
virtually meet you. So, yes, I have been choosing a word for many years, and a lot of it had to do with I don't love goal setting, and I feel like just the idea. I would rather look to, as Lisa said, my habits and enhancing my habits than putting something out there, because ultimately I think our jobs and our lives change so much that those goals have to be tweaked a lot. So, anyways, I've been doing a word. My word for this year is unstoppable. And I have to share with you just what's happened to my life since I chose the word unstoppable. So, so I chose the word unstoppable. I made all my socials on Canva with capital, all in capital letters, unstoppable, exclamation marks, like so totally going for it. And literally from the Christmas holiday, everybody in my family and the extended family all got COVID. So we had about 30 cases of COVID rolling around. And so first it was my husband. So I had to I was in quarantine for him. Then I got sick, and then I was in quarantine for me. So all of a sudden my capital U unstoppable became like lowercase unstoppable. And then a couple of the things, one of my daughters they went on a trip. How's this for like good news, bad news, right? They went on a trip and they flew home. I picked them up at the airport, and they got home. My daughter went to her apartment at 2:00 in the morning. She called and she had stomach pains. And and again, mother of the year made her walk to the hospital. And because it was in eyesight. But anyway, she had an appendicitis. So she had her appendix out yesterday.
Oh my God.
So she will be here for the next 2 weeks while she recovers. And my other daughter, who goes to college in Vermont, her car is broken. So she's taking my car back up to Vermont. So I don't even know if it's even possible to be unstoppable at this point, but what it does do for me is give me an appreciation of finding the positive in everything. And also realizing that, what, I can work from home. Our jobs, we can work from home. I can redirect my energies to getting all the stuff that I've been wanting to work on paperwork and all that kind of thing. I can get that in place. So I can build on the benefits of what my reality is at this moment. So it's been a really teachable year so far.
Yeah, I have to tell you, when I saw your word, I thought, oh, I'm so glad that's not my word, because
Yes.
I mean, there have been years where that was it. But I have one of my other coaches, since I have so many coaches apparently, my Tony Robbins coach. We've been talking more about archetypes, and there's the lover, there's the magician, and there is the sort of the like the queen, I would say, sort of the that kind of energy, and then there's the warrior. And we've been talking about the warrior needs to take a little bit of a rest this year. That's kind of where
I'll tell
I'm
you.
at, that yeah. So when I saw your word, I was like, wow.
Well, I will tell you, I do have a system of habits that I follow. I call them rituals.
Of course.
And I am on track on that. And I also budget in unplugged time. So at least 3 days unplugged in a row off every month. So, I mean, I have built that into my unstoppable schedule.
Yes.
But what I meant by unstoppable most of all is kind of like what Kathy was talking about on letting the distractions or what comes next or whatever, and you get off the beaten path. And as you said, Lisa, like if it's not on your schedule, then then don't do it, and book it in your schedule if it's important. You can always, but do not. I am such a person that's like, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And I will jump into it. And if it's not on my schedule, I really try hard not to do it.
Yeah.
So
Everything is
anyway,
such a great idea. Yeah, Rory Vaden talks a lot about that, about what you're saying no to. I've been asking leaders that recently. I've been asking that question to people. What are you saying no to? Because I think we need to talk more about that too, and maybe we'll talk about that in one of our future meetings. But
I need to
honestly,
say it's
yeah.
either hell yes or no. And if it's not hell yes, then it should be no. If you want to maximize and optimize your time.
I love that. Yeah, that is really true. So unstoppable for Kate Lanagan MacGregor, who's now
And this
cursing
had already been
herself.
stopped about 5 times, but
Yeah,
whatever.
well, but that's in and of itself, it's that you no matter what, it doesn't matter whether you're jumping up or whether you're tiptoeing, you are not allowing life to stop you, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, and 1 inch forward is movement,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So look in and then look up, and then really the next part about that is to look out. How are we going to share that? What's it going to look like? How are we going to live that? Actually, Mike, any thoughts about any of this process? Do you want to jump in? And Mike is brand new, Kate, just so you know, he's not even fully
Hi, Mike.
onboarded.
Hey, Kate, how are you?
Awesome.
Good.
Congratulations for working for such a great, amazing leader.
I absolutely agree. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, this is great. Hey, I would say did a lot of thinking about this too. I mean, I was going to say gratitude, but I wake up with gratitude every day. I've always have. But I guess my word for the day, where I am in my life now, would be pretty much learning, and that's basically, I guess, learning the real estate trade. Being a fairly new to it, like I say, licensed under a year. I think what was in my way is where I was working before, and that's what needed to go. I identified that, made the change here at EXP, and I'm hoping it's going to be just a great career forward from here with EXP. So,
All right. Well, that's great. All right. I'm going to work on your word swag on that too. That's great. So learn or learning. That's super.
learning, yes.
Yeah. Hey, Sakta, you want to jump in? You're part of the family. You actually really are. Tom is my direct sponsor. I mean, you are definitely
Oh,
part
wow,
of it.
really?
Yeah.
He's awesome. So, what do I need more in life? Kind of like Kate, I decided to say yes. Instead of unstoppable is also a good one. But yeah, yes, for my training, I shouldn't procrastinate more, and learn the scripts. Now I'm still on training, and my brain feels like getting short circuited sometimes. There's so much info. What's in the way? I would say training for the most part. And what do I need to do? Practice. I actually plan on making a vision board.
Nice.
So that might also help.
Yeah, absolutely. Give yourself some time too, and lean on others. Find some other folks, within our organization. Anyone who's on this call will be happy to answer your calls or your workplace chat or whatever. Seriously, that's one of the amazing, one of the core values in EXP is collaboration, and it is just stunning, how again because we all do better if we all do better, right? Just because we all own the company. I mean, it really is. I mean, it really isn't just people that are in your direct group. It's really the whole company. So the level of collaboration and generosity of resources is really great. So give yourself a little time. I say the same thing to Mike because it's like a fire hose. It's crazy. You can't even begin, doing the Fast Start the Fast Start program, the 14 session Fast Start program is a really good place to start for sure.
Yeah.
'Cause it's, in a row and you'll meet lots of folks that are also in your same space. So that's a good place to start for sure. And I'm glad that you were here this morning for sure. Adrian, how about you? Have you worked on your word?
Good morning. Yes, I'm wonderful actually. I'm happy to
Excellent.
get what was that?
I said excellent. So what's your word?
So as you know, I had a word last year, which was endure.
Yes.
And it helped me a lot. I mean, for those who are new to the concept, the way I did it, I just wrote on a big piece of paper endure, and then I tried to channel to attach all my dreams and goals towards that word. And then I came up with a system where I had to type my word every single day on the computer, and that will remind me about what I should focus on.
Nice.
So, and I'm big with vision boards too. I have a vision board that's printed in my office, in my bedroom, right close to my bed. So the center of the vision board is my new word, because I just made the vision board at the beginning of the year, and the new word is pursue.
Aha.
And reason why I choose this word is because last year I was hearing this word a lot by trying to develop myself. And what I noticed is that it's not enough just to write down the word every day, but if you set this word, you find this word and you channel all your goals towards this word, by typing it down every single day keeps you focused, and also by hearing it, like you listen to a motivational video and they tell you about pursue, and then all your dreams just comes to you, like everything you channel towards that word just comes to you. So yeah, that's my word, pursue.
Excellent. And I love how you incorporated a message during the day to remind you of that word. That's really great. I know I printed mine out. So thank you so much for sharing. Junichi, you're kind of just got thrown into this. Not sure if you want to jump in. I wanted to just make sure to include you if you wanted to. Say a few words about, I mean, you probably didn't have any idea what this was going to be about today. So good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you. This is the first time I'm on Zoom, and everything new to me. And I'm new to the real estate, so I have to say, please teach me everything.
Okay.
And I'll be get on meeting every week if possible. As you know, I'm working right now, so I cannot talk everything. But I'll talk to you when I'm not on another big job, and I'll talk to you again. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah,
Thank
our
you.
pleasure, Junichi. Yeah, this is a colleague of Adrian's, and you're welcome to join
Yes, thank you.
anything that we have. I'm
I'll
always,
see you in a minute.
yeah, more the merrier for sure.
Right on. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much. So I will share my word. Again, I kind of was going in between a couple different ones. Clarity was something that I really thought of a lot. My attraction coach, Russ Collier, who actually now is coaching Tom, which is interesting. So they're both having your coach your coach is kind of so anyway. He said, try to incorporate the idea of smart choices into your word. And so that was like swirling around in my head the whole time. I was like trying to be a little bit more country granola. As I said, for me, like letting the warrior take a little bit of a rest, softening things. And you guys all know I'm a grandma now. And so making more space in my life to be the grandma that I want to be, the glamma that I want to be to Eloise. It's exhausting. There's a reason that younger people have children. Oh, good God. But it is, especially as most of you know, I lost my mom this last year. So having Eloise kind of fill that huge space has been amazing. So what do I need more of? I need more time to be present for people that I love in my life. And that's also my team. I mean, it's not just Eloise and Fred, but it's also, everybody who's in my life. And the other word that came a lot was the word sovereignty, which had come from conversations with my Tony Robbins coach, Noreen, and sort of that as that archetype. And the word sovereignty meaning control over yourself, not sovereignty over kind of the world, And one of my yoga mentors, Elena Brower, who I'm doing some work with this year, the concept for January was sovereignty. And so she talked a lot about what that's like to continue to own everything about yourself and the way you're walking in the world. And I kind of loved sovereignty, but it felt a little bit, I don't know what. So as I was continuing, I was like, well, what is it that I really need? And so my word ended up being equanimity. So equanimity meaning like being able to be calm and graceful and grounded under any circumstance. The concept first came through with some other yoga, Baptiste yoga. That's like one of their big constructs, that when you're in like a very difficult yoga pose, to be able to stay there and be balanced and calm and not be like, how long is this going to go on? Or think about how miserable you feel. But to overcome that and to have a grace. Grace was another one of my long words that I was going to use. So once I realized what it was, I just went through a super stressful time with, with Fred over the holiday and COVID and all kinds of stuff. And I kept thinking, how can I be more balanced in this moment? How can equanimity really help me in this moment? And it was amazing. Just like Kate was saying, once you really adopt that word, you find a way for it to really show up for you in all kinds of moments. So let me share my screen. I'll show you my crazy word swag I did so far. Let's see. You guys see which one do you see? You see equanimity? Can you see that or no?
Yes.
Yes. So that is my little word swag for equanimity for this year. Mental or emotional stability or composure, especially under tension or strain, calmness, equilibrium. So I am breathing in and breathing out and using that word in all different ways. But that was kind of my process of what did I need? I needed some more, I needed continued more balance. I want to stand in that. I want to stand in that part of myself through my professional life and my personal life. What was in my way, bing bong bouncing off, constantly reacting and not acting, for sure. And what needs to go, a lot of that was a lot of the noise and the distraction and stuff like that. So that is my word for 2022. And it has already served me really well. I'm really grateful to have that for sure. And so the last part is really looking out. We talked about that already, which is, how can we continue? What things can we build into our lives to make that word continue to be prominent, and there are things like writing it on top of your journal. Do you journal? If you journal, finding a way to incorporate that into your journal. Even take your journal now and go through over the next couple months and just write your word on the top, like way far into your journal, so that if you do forget, it'll be a reminder for you there. I love Adrian gave himself like a reminder. Last year, my word was courage, and it was a great word for me. It was a great word as I was going through a lot of changes that I went through over the year. I was reminded. And our Robin, who right now is going through a very stressful time, she's still in San Antonio, Texas. She's been there for a while. Her husband's family, it's a long hospice situation, but that's one of the reasons she's not here this morning. But she gave me a beautiful little pendant that had a lion on it. And on the back, it said Courage 2021. And so I had that pendant with me a lot, and I appreciated that, so it showed up for me in so many ways. So I'd love to hear some other ideas of how people are thinking about incorporating their word. I will send you a word swag, because I love to do that, or a Canva on your words. But and Sakta, for your word, for right now, I know you don't have your word yet, and also Christine, you weren't quite sure. So just text me, email me. Sakta, I'm going to give you my contact information. Raymar, can you put my contact information in the chat for Sakta? And also, if you just look for Lisa Parento online, you'd have a hard time not finding me. So you can easily find me. Just reach out and let me know what your word is, and I'm happy to do that for you for sure. So I wanted to take some time this morning. We just had a crazy situation in workplace where a new agent said, I'm going to be co-listing a property, and I also may be bringing the buyer, and I want to know whether or not I would be a dual agent. And someone who I don't know, who's not from the state, actually, I guess dual licensed, I think actually, wrote, oh, dual agency isn't even a thing in Massachusetts. And I was like, ah! I mean, I actually have been in real estate jail about agency, so I really know agency a little bit more than the average agent. But also,
sorry, excuse me, Lisa. When you shuffle your papers, it's too close to the
oh, sorry.
phone, and sometimes I can't hear you.
Okay,
Thank you.
So I wanted to really take some time this morning to talk about agency, and whoever's on, you must need to hear this, and it is recorded, so that's good. Agency is a hugely important concept in real estate. It's also an area of real estate where we can find ourselves in some real jeopardy. and we can get into a lot of trouble. And we don't want to do things just because we might get into trouble. We want to do things because it's the right thing to do. I immediately, and I never jump into the fray and on regular Facebook or in workplace for the most part, but that was such inaccurate information. I immediately wrote, hey, I need to disagree with you, whoever the heck you are. I didn't say that. And and then I reached out to the agent privately and said, that is not correct. Please reach out to me. Also, let's bring in the broker. And I started to tag the brokers, and then I did speak to the brokers, and it kind of, at least someone straightened them out. I was just surprised that someone spoke so definitively who really didn't know what they were talking about. But yes, it does happen. So I asked Kate Lanagan MacGregor, who is not only a broker owner, she owns a real estate school in Mattapoisett. She was also, I always love to say, she was also Realtor of the Year for Mass Association of Realtors in 2018, and she's my good friend. And so I asked her to come on this morning and talk a little bit about agency, and then I want you guys to ask whatever questions you might have, because this is such an important concept. Thank you, Kate. Go.
You're welcome. So now that I know all of your words and I know what the situation is, we can certainly talk about agency in a way that's really specific to what you are all going through. And I want to start by saying, Lisa just mentioned, I have a school, which is called Agent Rising. It's Agent Rising, but my website is agentrising.com. And on there are continuing education classes that anybody can watch at any time for free. So there's a dual agency, there's seller agency, there's buyer agency. So if you are ever feeling kind of curious as to how the state weighs in on this, feel free to jump on. You can auto forward, auto rewind, and find the spot that you need for whatever your question is. The only time that I charge for continuing ed is when you need it for your credits. Other than that, you can go and use that resource anytime you want. And one of the things that this brings up, this idea of co-broking on one side and buyer agent on the other, which then would make you a dual agent. Before we even get there, is that agency, if you think about where the word agency came from, speaking of words of the year, right? Like agency has this importance and this weight to it about how when we are someone's agent, that is serious business. We owe them, right? We owe them a fiduciary. And fiduciary means a feeling of trust, a level of trust, and this unconditional putting that person forward and first. So this idea about being someone's agent is no joke. And so when someone asks you to be their agent, just like we were saying about that hell yes or no, you should kind of have that same feeling about becoming their agent. And a couple of years ago, they changed the agency form to say licensee through it until you actually establish that you are calling yourself their agent with definitions on the back. So we don't have to accidentally, by our actions or implicitly, enter into agency agreements with people anymore. We can deliberately and definitively do it. Okay. So with that first thing being said, when you are deciding if you want to work with that person, the acronym of OLD CAR, which is obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accountability of funds, and reasonable care and diligence, is what we promise them. So let's take Lisa's example there. Okay. And so we are co-listing with a seller. So we have another seller's agent. We may be the backup. We may be the person who's answering the appointments, whatever, but we have established an agency relationship with that seller. So we have promised them to lawfully obey all of their orders if it's lawful, right? L, loyalty. Give them our loyalty, our loyalty to them. D, disclosure. Disclose all that we know. C, confidentiality. Everything that they tell us is in a vault. And that means from when you're at a sales meeting and you're chit-chatting and we all start telling the horror stories and the war stories about how terrible our people are, that is against the rules, okay? Confidentiality. Accountability of funds, right? So we are their financial fiduciary as well. And then R is reasonable care and diligence. So we are going to find out and do our job for them. So that's what we promised that seller. Now you get the buyer. And that buyer you're going to align with that buyer as their agent. And so you owe them OLD CAR as well. So now the challenge with dual agency, and here's the thing, I just want to say is that when dual agency was first presented, they made it sound like it was just this really obscure, time that you had the listing and accidentally almost you stumbled upon this buyer that you were working with before, and you come together and you're working with them and you are dual. And it's like so obscure, it never happens, but when it happens, here are the rules. And basically, when I started teaching dual agency, I called this to the carpet. And I said, that's such, can I swear, Lisa? That's such bullshit, right? If we have the opportunity to get that whole commission, most of the time we're going to try. And so my thing was, how about we get some language around that, and we get some best practices around that, and we develop a system of how we're going to do dual agency. Now let's run through our old car. If we are dual agents, so obedience, can we truly lawfully obey both of them all the time? No, not really, because they're going to be asking us different things. So it becomes like a balance there. It becomes a limited agency responsibility to them, or what they're getting. Loyalty. You know, I think about my kids, right? I love all of my kids equally as much. Okay. I don't love them the same way, but I don't favor one over the other. And when you are working with both the buyer and the seller, it has to be that same kind of thing. Now, and you've had this long-term relationship with the seller, right? So you, like, they know you, you know them, you've spent hours with them. This buyer may have come to your open house or called on your sign, and now you're like bringing them in. You don't have that same kind of history with them. But if you were taking them on as a dual and you are giving them agency, you owe them that same loyalty. Okay, but again, if we limit it, because you cannot, again, back to my kids when they say, which one of us is really a favorite, right? There is no favorite. D, disclosure. Our disclosure, which was about everything we knew about that property and that person in that situation, now becomes every material fact that we know about disclosure. So no more talking about the divorce or the death or the neighbor or the whatever. We make it materially about the house, the property, okay? Confidentiality. We still have everything in the vault, right? And I will tell you a funny story. I had a dual agency scenario, kind of like I just described. And I was actually walking from one house to the other, where the buyer was like renting this place next door. And I went back to the seller and she said, what did they say about me? I said, we talked about the property, right? So I didn't like, she goes, but yeah, but what did they say about me? And I said, well, first of all, they didn't say anything about you, but my old car means that my disclosure is about the property. She said, you know what? I cannot do dual agency. I need to know everything. So that's the only time that has happened, but that can happen, right? Our laws where we have the consent up front and then we get the notice when it actually happens, they don't, even though they've given us consent, they can revoke that consent if it doesn't work for them. Just know that. You can't make them use you, okay? So that's our confidentiality. Accountability of funds stays the same because it's, you know, we want to make sure. Now we already have in place that we don't get to decide where a deposit that doesn't work out goes. That's already in the system, right? And then reasonable care. Our reasonable care becomes about the property. If you were to do a CMA for the buyer, you should be very willing to share that with the seller as well. Okay, so we are not trying to leverage one against the other. It becomes about material facts about the property. So that is how we practice dual agency. One thing I can tell you from the very beginning is if you are a person that is going to be open to dual agency, have the communication, the words and the language with both your buyer and seller well before you are there in that dual situation, so that there's a level of trust and a level of confidence that they have that you're not jumping ship or you're not favoring that other child more than the other one, right? So you want to make sure that you are engaging 100% and staying by the rules, okay? And you know, I do want to say, like, it can be challenging and it can be, as Lisa said, you are walking a fine line sometime. So make sure that you remember, you know, that your fiduciary is to both of them. I like to remember the word fiduciary as like Fido the dog. Who here has a dog? Right? Does your dog like just do anything for you? Is that dog like at the door greeting you when you come home? Does that dog know that you're not feeling well before you know that you don't feel well? Right? We kind of owe that same kind of loyalty and that same kind of unconditional trust that our dog does to us. And I mean, again,
I find that annoying for dogs. Like,
I know, but I hear you, but it's true, right? So I just saw this meme, and this is so off topic, but I'll make it quick. is like the emotional support animal that when her friend comes over, like she goes to her friend's house, her friend has an emotional support animal, and that emotional support animal immediately jumps on this person's lap and starts licking her face. She's like, why does that dog think I need the help more? You know? So anyway, I digress. The point of the matter is that we can be knowledgeable about this, right? There is no reason, if we are trained professionals, that we don't have language for this, that we don't understand it completely, that we're not asking questions that we don't know, and that we are not ready for this. Okay. If you are getting started new and you're like saying, like, what do I need to know? You need to know this, and you need to practice and role play. And, you know, I heard there's 2 new people on today. Like, become each other's script partners, and at 8 to 8:15 every single morning, practice saying these things, right? And when that person says, well, how do I know that I know that your seller hired you. How do I know that you're not going to try to get the best price for them and not take care of me, says the buyer. Practice how you're going to say it until it's second language to you, and that you have absolutely no challenge when you're sitting there with them. Okay. And if you're not comfortable with it, then my recommendation is do not do dual. Okay. Like in this situation, it would be easy, right? You have a co-list and then you got the buyer there. So, you know, you could have that first other listing person take that listing for them, and you take the buyer, if that's what you want to do, right? Again, you still owe that the duty responsibility that you had to that seller, but it makes it a little bit easier to practice. Anyway, I am open for questions. I tried to make this so that it was succinct for you, but I am open for any questions.
Yeah, no, I think it's such a meaty situation, because again, you're going to have every situation is going to be very different, and people's inherent relationships with those buyers and sellers emotionally have us not really understanding where we stand. One thing I want to make sure that everybody knows, in Massachusetts, which you will be practicing in, Mike, as well, there's a bunch of forms that you need to make sure are correctly filled out. One is the agency disclosure form, which is a mandatory state form. It's recommended that you come up with a little speech. You know, I say, so in Massachusetts, we're required to share this disclosure with you. We practice designated agency. There's a form I need you to take a look at. It's not a contract. It says in the top, this is not a contract. It's a state mandated form. And if you really don't want to sign it, there's a tiny place on the bottom that says consumer refuses to sign. But basically what it says is, in Massachusetts, we practice designated agency. That means that one person works for the seller as a fiduciary responsibility, and everyone else potentially works for a buyer. So Mr. and Mrs. Consumer in your driveway, that's what that's the mandatory disclosure that I'm asked to share with you. So you build like a little elevator speech around that, whatever language is good for you, and have that, like Kate said, at the tip of your fingers. You know, as a seller agent, it's easy, designated seller. As a buyer agent, it's easy, designated buyer. It gets confusing when you are the listing agent, you're a designated seller agent, and you have a buyer come in. Do you give a designated seller agency disclosure to that buyer? Or do you do a buyer agency disclosure with them? And that is determined by a couple things. But Kate, I know I have sort of my thoughts. Kate, what would you do in that situation? I'm the listing agent. A buyer comes in unrepresented at an open house, wants to write on that property.
Okay, so before I do that, I want to say that disclosures and contracts are 2 other continuing eds that are there for you guys to go for education. But in a nutshell, your company has a policy about what they generally want you to do with that unrepresented buyer. So that's my first thing, is to look to what your broker wants you to do. And if you are on a team, look for what your team leader wants you to do. Okay, so this is not the time to make your own decisions. But whatever the policy is, if you're going to keep that buyer as a customer, right, which means you're only going to represent the seller, then you need to be clear with that buyer. But remember, like to a buyer, and if you say, you're going to be a customer of mine, they don't know what you mean is you're not giving them FIDO, right? They think that you're going to be helping them, right? So they don't understand our customer client definitions. So you want to make sure that if you are going through that, keeping yourself as the designated seller's agent and telling them that they're going to be a customer of yours as opposed to a client. And here's the difference. So I still work for the seller. But I own it. I owe you, and the acronym is HARD. right? I owe you hard. But honesty, accountability, reasonable care, and disclosure of all material facts. That's what you get. There is no confidentiality. So please don't tell me anything that as a matter of fact, I am compelled to go back and tell the seller. So don't tell me anything that you don't want them to know. Right. So those might be some of the things that again, you're just meeting them. They want to get in the house. They're not listening to a word you say.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So this is stuff that, so I just want to be, I know, right. As she said, I practice real estate still. So I get it. Right. But you do need to make sure that you are weaving this into your conversation as you are continuing through the house. Okay. So it could be like when you're stopping, looking out at the view. By the way, I thank you so much for agreeing to authorize that agency disclosure. And I know I told you a little bit about client and customer. Here's a couple other things that will be important for you about that. Okay. And so you can weave it in so they understand what a customer is. And they will say to you many times, well, can I hire you as my client or as my agent, or I like you, I really want to work with you. Can you help me? So there might be some other discussions that come up. These are all practice learnable skills. Mm-hmm. And, I always say, like, you have to be uncreative before you're creative. And what I mean by that is these basic skills that you have will be the skills that take you through your profession and will never let you down. Right. So when you are like afraid to say something and you just hope that nobody asks you and nobody does anything wrong that you're going to get in trouble for, then, you're playing roulette. Okay. And that's not a way to build longevity and confidence in your building. Contracts and agency are two things that you can learn inside and out. There's books upon books, there's videos, there's everything that you can watch. There's no reason why that you should not know this.
Yep. And also you have a team leader. I mean, whenever I have practiced dual, I've made sure that I had somebody smarter than me that I was talking to at every different stage. But it is legal to practice dual agency in Massachusetts. My old broker used to say, I love that other agent. She's the best, so sometimes it is great when you're working with yourself because you're not waiting, on something, but there are states where it's illegal. And there are states like California, if you watch $1 Million Listing very, very long, you're going to realize they're double ending almost every single deal they're doing. So, I mean, it kind of goes the wide range in our profession across states. There's no one thought about it or the other, but it is legal here. As Kate says, it's a skill and you need to lean on some folks. I just want to mention though, that the agency disclosure, if you are in dual agency, there is a dual agency notification form, and there's also a dual agency disclosure form. So there's two additional forms that need to accompany the transaction if you are in dual agency. And then the listing agreement we always want to use if possible, make sure you're using the correct one, is one that gives permission for designated and dual agency. So that's going to be inherent in your listing agreement. You may decide not to practice it. But if you don't have that form to begin with, then you'll never be able to practice it. So it is legal. Everybody kind of knows where that form is if you're on my team. Kathy, do you have a question on that?
Yeah, so I did dual agents. Well, I've done it twice, but there are two different forms, correct? The first time is when you actually present it. And then the second time is when they get into a contract.
Yeah, I just do them both at the same time though. Kate, what do you want to hesitate?
So that consent to dual, right? As Lisa said, on the sell side, on the listing side, that is done with your listing agreement. On the buy side, it should be done with your exclusive buyer contract. So you're picking the exclusive buyer agency agreement with consent to dual. So that first thing you have to do, that first trigger is already done. And that's actually when you start building the trust on with them, when you're going through those contracts about what dual agency is, what your policy is about them, how you handle it. And you start the conversation then. You would say, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I just want to let you know that I have done multiple dual agency scenarios, or in your case, Kathy, where like haven't done a ton, you could say, my team is very well versed on dual agency and we will walk you through every single step.
Yeah.
And so you start it then. That's when you have that first conversation. And technically, that notice of dual is supposed to be done before any contract gets written up. Okay. My recommendation to you is do the notice as soon as you're booking the appointment, because again, that the people will not feel blindsided. So this would be, and again, I don't pull out the form then. But what I would do is when I'm like letting the seller know that I am doing, I say, by the way, this, how we had talked about dual agency, there's a possibility that this might be a dual agency scenario because this is my buyer. And then to the buyer, I would say, by the way, as we did in the buyer contract, I talked to you about dual, that, this is one of those situations that it might be. So I just want to let you know. So here's your notice. I have it in writing with both of them. And then when it comes time for the contract, I will have that piece already there. And that'd be my third time I talked about it with them. So I want to make sure that I normalize the idea of dual agency if I plan on practicing dual agency. I don't make it sound like it's a dirty, a dirty relative kind of thing. Like I want to make sure that I bring it up as a main player if it's something that I practice on a regular basis. And I want to make sure that I give the seller and the buyer every opportunity to ask me their what ifs, right? Because we know that if we can build that confidence in that relationship with them, if they were hesitant, like my friend that said, I can't stand the fact that you know something I don't know. I don't want to do dual. I'm like, okay, I'll get somebody else for the buyer. So that's how it has to be, I don't know. Does that help?
It really does. And I think, every situation is different. Many times when Robin and I would both be on a listing, and so she actually would go on as another designated. She is totally uncomfortable with dual. I'm completely comfortable with it. But during the last couple of years, we've had multiple offers on properties. I have made the professional decision that I was not going to act dual because there's just too much possibility for there to be misunderstandings and other agents, and we're all playing in the same sandbox, and that one commission was not going to be worth everybody else thinking that I was doing something that wasn't right. So I just felt like it was an additional level of stress to everybody if I was also going to be having a competitive offer in with 10 other people. So I made the business decision to not do that during multiple offer situations. But I have done it since in the pandemic, but I've only had one or two, and Robin was not comfortable. And then I just went ahead, and one of them was a referral in the middle of it all. And, so we just, we did do it. But I think each time, make sure you talk to somebody, talk to me, talk to your broker, give Kate a call. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer a question, text.
A lot of driving.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, we're a little bit past the hour. Thank you so much, Kate. I appreciate your expertise as always. It was lovely to see your smiling face. So Kate does a Facebook Live every morning. She's been doing it for, I don't know how long, since the beginning of time. What time is it? What time is it? And how
7
can
a.m.
people do it? 7 a.m.
So on I'm sorry for stepping over your words. This
No,
is a bad
go.
habit I have when I'm on these calls. So it's at 7 a.m. It's called Rise for Time and Money Freedom. My name is Kate Lanagan MacGregor. So friend me too, because I'd love to see how you guys are doing in your profession. And but it's Rise for Time and Money Freedom. It's public, so you can catch it on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. So you can find it. It's just a 5 to 10 minute coaching session, I call it, and most of the time I just roll right off whatever's on my brain. And it's today I talked about unstoppable. How about that? So anyway, yeah. So
I think I can follow Kate.
Yeah. So Kate Lanagan MacGregor. I have, so my profile is Kate Lanagan MacGregor. I have a Kate Rise Trainer, which is a page. And then the group is Rise for Time and Money Freedom.
And I put agentrising.com in the chat a bit ago, which is the main website. But again, if you just look if you just put Kate Lanagan,
if you Google me,
yeah,
you Google me, it all comes up.
Yeah, you're gonna.
So it was a pleasure, guys, and enjoy. You know what? I love this profession, and my recommendation to all of you is to enjoy it as much as you can, because we are in such a fortunate position to be able to help people as well as make a pretty fine living as well.
Absolutely.